The power of privacy. Why keeping things to yourself matters. Imagine you are standing in front of a crowd, sharing every detail of your life. Every plan, every thought, every feeling laid out for all to see. How would that make you feel? Vulnerable? Exposed? Or perhaps a bit uncomfortable? Now, think about how often in your daily life you share things with others. Plans, dreams, struggles, hopes. Do you ever wonder what would happen if you kept more of it to yourself? We live in a world where sharing has become second nature. From social media updates to casual conversations, we tell others everything. But have you ever stopped to think if all this sharing is truly helping you or hindering you? What if the key to living a more peaceful, focused, and powerful life lies in the things you choose not to say? Consider this. When you hold back your thoughts and intentions, you're not keeping secrets to hide from the world. You're preserving your energy, your power, and your ability to shape your future. In Buddhism, there's a belief that silence and privacy hold immense strength. By keeping things to yourself, you're allowing your actions to speak louder than your words ever could. But how often do we do that? There's so much noise in our lives today. With everyone sharing their opinions and their lives, it's easy to forget how important it is to guard certain aspects of ourselves. What if privacy isn't just about secrecy? It's about protection. Protecting your energy, your goals, and even your relationships. Before we dive deeper, I want to ask you to take a moment for yourself. Think about your life. What are the things you share without thinking? And what are the things you keep to yourself? Do you feel empowered in the moments you remain silent? Or do you feel the need to speak to prove your worth? Welcome to Wisdom Woven. In this video, we're going to explore the 7 things you must keep private to truly unlock your potential and lead a life of peace and wisdom. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you subscribe. So please, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Drop down your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the power of privacy? Let's get started. Your future plans, protecting the path before it forms. Imagine a seed that you plant deep in the earth. You water it, protect it, and wait for it to sprout. If every person who walks by can see the seed, poke at it, or talk about it before it has a chance to grow, how do you think it will fare? It may never get the chance to reach its full potential, lost under the weight of other people's opinions and expectations. Your future plans are like that seed, fragile and easily disturbed before they have time to grow strong. In life, we often share our dreams, our goals, and our visions for the future. And while it might seem natural to talk about these things with friends or family, it's important to remember that not every part of our journey needs to be exposed to the world. Just as the seed needs time to grow in silence and peace, so too do your plans. When you let others in too early, you risk opening yourself to judgment, doubt, and distraction. You may find that the more you share, the more you become tangled in others' opinions. It's not that their opinions are necessarily bad, but too many voices can drown out your own inner voice, the one that knows what's best for you. When you talk about your future plans, do you do it because you're excited, or do you do it because you're seeking validation from others? There is a difference. One comes from a place of inner confidence, while the other comes from a place of insecurity. When we talk about our goals too freely, we often find ourselves subconsciously seeking approval, and in the process, we may end up changing the course of our path, just to fit someone else's expectations. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is like a calm pond, clear and still when left undisturbed. But when we let too many thoughts and voices fill our minds, it becomes cloudy. The same can happen to our plans. When we share them too early, the clarity we once had becomes clouded by the distractions and judgments of others. By keeping your future plans private, you give them the space they need to develop and take shape on their own. You allow yourself the freedom to make adjustments along the way, without the pressure of meeting external expectations. Privacy in this case isn't about secrecy, but about the respect you show for your own process. It's about knowing that your journey is uniquely yours and doesn't need to be validated by anyone else. This is not to say that you should never share your goals with others, but there is a time and a place for that. The key is knowing when to hold back and when to share. Think about the times in your life when you shared your dreams with others too soon. How did you feel afterward? Did you feel empowered, or did you feel more uncertain? Did their reactions shape the way you viewed your plans? Many times, people are well-meaning, but they may not understand the full scope of your vision. They may offer advice that doesn't align with your true path or tell you that your goals are unrealistic. But the truth is, only you can know what's possible for you. You are the only one who can see the path clearly ahead. When you keep your plans to yourself, you allow your vision to stay pure and focused. This is a fundamental teaching in Buddhism. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of quiet contemplation and self-reflection. Before making any major decisions or sharing your thoughts, take time to sit in stillness. In that stillness, you can hear your true voice, the one that knows the way forward. When you act from that place of inner clarity, your plans are more likely to succeed. But when you are distracted by the opinions and judgments of others, your path becomes less certain. Your energy is dispersed, and your focus is diluted. Many successful people throughout history have attributed their achievements to the power of silence. They understood that if they shared their plans too early, they risked losing their clarity. They kept their goals private, allowing them to focus fully on the task at hand. This is not to say they never sought advice or support, but they understood the value of keeping their vision to themselves until it was fully formed. Only once they had laid the foundation of their dream did they invite others in. There is also a certain power in silence itself. By keeping your plans to yourself, you create an aura of mystery and strength. People will begin to respect your quiet determination in the space you give yourself to grow. In Buddhism, this is often referred to as the power of right speech, speaking only when necessary and with purpose. When we speak too freely, we scatter our energy. But when we remain silent, we conserve our power and direct it toward what truly matters. It's not always easy to keep our plans private, especially in a world where we're encouraged to share everything. Social media, in particular, can make it feel like everyone's success depends on how much they share. But the truth is, some of the most powerful people are those who keep their plans close to their hearts. They don't need external validation because they are secure in their own vision. They trust themselves and their process. So, the next time you find yourself excited to share your plans with others, pause for a moment. Ask yourself if it's the right time. Do you feel strong and confident in your vision? Or are you looking for someone else to tell you it's a good idea? If you're feeling uncertain, it's okay to keep your plans to yourself for a little while longer. Trust that when the time is right, the right people will be there to support you, and your plan will be stronger for having been nurtured in silence. By protecting your future plans, you give them the space to grow without interference. You allow them to mature, develop, and take shape in their own time. And when they are ready, you will be ready to share them with the world, not for validation, but for the pure joy of bringing them into being. So, remember, your plans are yours alone. Protect them with the same care and attention that a gardener gives to a young seed. Let them grow quietly, and when they are ready, they will flourish. Personal struggles, the strength in silent battles. In this life, everyone faces struggles. It's an inevitable part of being human. We all encounter moments of doubt, fear, and hardship. But have you ever noticed how some people seem to bear their struggles with a quiet strength, while others feel the need to share their pain with the world? It's easy to think that talking about your problems will bring relief. After all, society often tells us that sharing our struggles with others will help us heal. But what if the real power lies not in talking, but in keeping your struggles private? Consider this. When you share your struggles with the world, you open yourself up to judgment. People will have opinions about your pain, whether they offer sympathy or try to give advice. But what if the strength to overcome those struggles could be found in silence? By keeping your struggles private, you prevent others from placing labels on you or determining your worth based on your hardships. Instead of relying on others' opinions, you take control of your own story. The Buddhist approach to personal struggles is simple but profound. In Buddhism, the teachings on suffering are not meant to make us feel defeated, but to empower us. We are all capable of dealing with our own struggles, without needing validation from others. By choosing not to share our hardships, we take full responsibility for them. We don't let the world define us by our pain. Instead, we allow ourselves to grow stronger in our silence, learning to handle our difficulties with grace and resilience. When we face personal challenges, we often feel the urge to seek advice or comfort from others. This is natural, but how often do we consider that others' advice may come from a place of their own unhealed wounds or limited understanding? When you share your struggles, you risk inviting opinions that may not help you at all. Sometimes, the best solution is to listen to your own inner wisdom and find your own way through the darkness. Buddhism teaches us the importance of mindfulness, of being present with our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. This practice encourages us to observe our pain rather than project it outward. By keeping our struggles private, we create the space to observe them quietly, without interference. In this space, we gain insight and clarity that would be impossible if we were constantly seeking others' opinions. Think about the times when you've been vulnerable with others. Did it always make you feel better? Or did it sometimes leave you feeling more exposed, even raw? There's a difference between sharing your struggles for genuine support and oversharing for validation. It's important to remember that not everyone needs to know what you're going through. Not everyone deserves to see your pain. What if instead of telling the world about your struggles, you kept them to yourself and found strength in your own ability to overcome? In Buddhism, there is an emphasis on self-reliance, not in the sense of shutting people out, but in understanding that the answers to our problems often lie within us, not in the opinions of others. By keeping your struggles private, you allow yourself the freedom to heal without the influence of others. There is a subtle power in silence. When you choose not to share your pain with the world, you preserve your energy. You don't let your emotions leak out for others to judge or question. Instead, you maintain control over how you process your struggles. This inner control is not about ignoring your pain, but about facing it with courage and determination. The silence becomes a tool for inner strength. Buddhism also teaches the importance of detachment. When you share your struggles with others, you risk attaching your identity to your pain. You may begin to see yourself as the person who is always struggling, or the one who is constantly in need of help. But when you keep your struggles private, you create space for detachment. You can experience your pain without letting it define who you are. You are not your struggles. You are the one who is overcoming them. In silence, we allow ourselves to process our emotions without interference. We don't need to explain our pain to anyone. We can simply experience it, learn from it, and move through it. In this way, silence becomes a form of healing. It allows us to reclaim our power and move forward with greater clarity. It's also important to remember that not everyone is equipped to handle the weight of your struggles. While some people may genuinely care, others may not know how to respond in a helpful way. Sometimes, sharing your struggles with others can lead to more frustration, confusion, or even pity. In these moments, you might find that it's better to keep things to yourself and allow time to heal you. When we choose to keep our struggles private, we also protect the people around us from unnecessary worry. Not everyone needs to carry your burden, and you don't need to feel obligated to share your pain with others. This doesn't mean you shouldn't seek support when necessary. It simply means that you should be mindful of who you share with and when. The strength of keeping your struggles private is not about hiding from the world. It's about taking ownership of your journey. It's about trusting yourself to heal, trusting yourself to find the answers, and trusting yourself to grow. By not sharing everything with others, you maintain your sense of agency. You don't let the world tell you how to feel or how to react. You take control of your emotional life. Finally, in silence, there is room for transformation. When we keep our struggles to ourselves, we allow time and space for them to change us. We don't need to rush to fix everything or explain every detail. The process of healing is subtle and gradual. In silence, we create the conditions for this quiet transformation to take place. And when we come out of it, we are stronger, wiser, and more resilient than we were before. By keeping your struggles private, you are not denying your pain. You are choosing to face it on your own terms. You are giving yourself the space to grow without interference. This silent strength is one of the most powerful things you can cultivate in your life. Your generosity, true giving, comes without recognition. In this world, we often find ourselves caught in the cycle of wanting recognition for the good we do. We give to others, not just because we care, but because we want to be seen. The moment we act with generosity, we expect to be acknowledged. But what if the true power of generosity comes not from receiving thanks, but from giving without any expectation at all? Imagine for a moment offering your time, your resources, or your kindness, and then walking away with no applause, no praise, no acknowledgement. How would that feel? In Buddhism, There is a teaching that encourages selfless giving. This is known as dana, the practice of giving without expecting anything in return. It's not about being praised, it's not about the recognition, it's about the act of giving itself. We live in a time where it's easy to be caught in the trap of wanting to be seen for our generosity. Social media and the constant drive for validation only add to this pressure. But real generosity isn't about what you get from others. It's about the inner peace and fulfillment you experience when you give without any need for recognition. When you give without expectation, you free yourself from the desire for validation. This allows your generosity to grow, unburdened by the weight of approval. Think about the quiet acts of kindness that go unnoticed. The time you helped a friend without asking for anything in return, the small donation you made, or the advice you shared with someone struggling. These acts, however small, carry more weight than any public gesture of generosity because they are done purely from the heart. You see, the less you seek praise for your generosity, the more powerful it becomes. There's a deep peace in knowing that your good deeds are just that, good deeds that don't need to be flaunted for the world to see. Many people give because they want to be praised for it. They want to show others how good they are. But true giving goes beyond seeking recognition. It's about creating a space within yourself where you give because it feels right, not because it will make you feel superior or more important. True generosity is rooted in the simple joy of seeing others benefit from what you have to offer. It is done in a spirit of humility and kindness, with no strings attached. In Buddhism, there's a saying that goes, "A gift is not a gift until it is given without any hope of return." When we give freely, we are not only helping others, but also helping ourselves. We release the need for acknowledgement and discover a deeper sense of satisfaction. You might not receive thanks or a public recognition for your actions, but that doesn't make your generosity any less valuable. In fact, the more you give without seeking validation, the more profound your impact becomes. Think about it. When you give without expecting anything in return, you're no longer attached to the outcome. You're simply contributing to the well-being of others, and in doing so, you enrich your own life. You begin to realize that generosity isn't just about material things. It's about giving of your time, your attention, your love, and your kindness. And when you give without expecting anything back, you are truly living in alignment with the deeper principles of life. Sometimes, the most powerful gifts are those that are never seen. When you listen attentively to someone's worries, when you offer your support without being asked, or when you help someone without expecting any recognition, you are engaging in a form of generosity that is priceless. It's the kind of giving that leaves a lasting impact on the world, even if it's not immediately recognized by others. But there's a challenge here. It's not easy to give without wanting anything in return. Our egos want to be acknowledged. They want to hear, "Thank you," or see the smile of gratitude. This is natural. We're all human. However, the true power of generosity is unlocked when we learn to release our attachment to outcomes. When we stop focusing on what we'll get from the act of giving, we create space for deeper connections and more meaningful exchanges. The Buddhist concept of dana teaches us that true generosity is an offering made with a pure heart, free from selfish motives. When you give, let it be an act of love, not a transaction. Give because you can, not because you want something in return. You will find that this kind of giving doesn't drain you. It replenishes you, filling your heart with joy and satisfaction that no applause or recognition can match. Let me ask you this. Have you ever given something without expecting anything back? If you have, you know exactly what I mean. It feels different, doesn't it? There's no need for a thank you, no need for a reward. The simple act of giving, without strings attached, is enough. It's as if you've tapped into something much bigger than yourself. This is the essence of true generosity. In the Buddhist tradition, giving without expectation is seen as a way of freeing oneself from attachment and ego. It's not about being noticed or celebrated. It's about the beauty of giving itself. And when you learn to give selflessly, you realize that the world becomes a better place, one small act at a time. So, the next time you give, whether it's your time, your energy, or your resources, ask yourself, am I doing this for recognition, or am I doing it because it's the right thing to do? The true power of generosity is found when we let go of our desire to be seen and recognized. When we can give with no expectation of anything in return, we enter a state of true peace and contentment. And this is where the real magic happens. When you give from the heart, with no need for applause and no strings attached. Family and relationship matters, safeguarding sacred bonds. There is something truly sacred about family and relationships. They are the core of our lives, where we experience love, support, conflict, and growth. But have you ever considered how much of your private life you should keep within these close circles? Too often, we share the intimate details of our relationships with the outside world, thinking that by doing so, we may gain validation or advice. But the reality is, sometimes it is better to keep these things private. Imagine sharing every argument, every disagreement, every moment of tension with others. What would happen to the trust and respect that exists between you and your loved ones? It's easy to think that by sharing these details with friends or family, you are being open, but in truth, you are risking the sacred connection you have with your partner, your parents, or your children. Family, in many ways, is where our deepest vulnerabilities lie. We allow ourselves to be loved, and we also allow ourselves to be hurt. But when we involve the outside world in our personal matters, we risk taking that sacred bond and turning it into something fragile, something that can be easily broken. Buddhism teaches us that relationships, just like everything else in life, are impermanent. They change, evolve, and face challenges. But the Buddha also teaches that we must practice mindfulness, especially in how we communicate and engage with the people closest to us. When we speak about our loved ones, we should do so with respect and care, understanding that once we share something, it cannot be taken back. The words spoken in anger or frustration can leave scars that may never fully heal. Therefore, it's crucial to protect the peace within our relationships by not airing out every issue for the world to see. In relationships, there are moments when silence is the strongest form of communication. Sometimes, the best way to show respect and love is to allow things to unfold without external interference. When a disagreement arises, it may feel tempting to speak about it with others, friends or family, seeking reassurance or advice. But often, it's better to resolve it within the relationship itself. By keeping these matters private, you show a level of maturity and respect for the other person. You are saying, I trust you enough to work through this with you, and I don't need the world's opinion to do that. There is a deeper wisdom in the practice of restraint. When you hold the challenges you face within your relationship close to your heart, you give space for growth. Every relationship goes through its ups and downs, but by not rushing to share every detail, you give yourself and your loved ones the time and space needed to reflect, heal, and find solutions. The quieter approach, the mindful way, allows the relationship to evolve naturally, free from the judgment or influence of others. Let's consider the example of a couple who frequently shares their relationship problems with others. At first, it may feel comforting to talk to someone outside the relationship for support, but over time, it becomes more difficult to reconcile the advice they've received with the actual feelings and dynamics between the couple. What happens is that outside opinions begin to cloud the judgment, making it harder for the couple to find their own solutions. They might find themselves asking, "What does this person think?" Or, "What would they do in our shoes?" instead of trusting their own instincts and understanding of the relationship. There's also a subtle, yet powerful, benefit in keeping family matters private. You maintain your personal dignity. It's easy to become caught up in the need for external validation or sympathy. Yet, when you share your struggles with the outside world, you may unintentionally invite judgment or pity. This takes away from the personal strength and wisdom that can come from facing challenges quietly. Protecting your family and relationship matters is not about hiding the truth. It's about preserving the integrity and dignity of what is sacred to you. Think of your family and close relationships as a garden. If you water it too much by constantly sharing every issue, it may drown. If you allow others to step in and prune your garden without understanding its true needs, you risk losing the authenticity of what you've built. But when you care for it quietly, you nurture it with patience, and the relationships will grow in strength and beauty over time. There's a common saying in Buddhism, the mouth is a garden that grows what you plant. What you say to others about your family and relationships plants seeds in their minds. Once the words are out, you cannot control how they are perceived or what kind of thoughts they may grow into. By being selective in what you share, you protect the purity of your relationships and your family's sacred space. The Buddha emphasized the importance of right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and with purpose. In relationships, this means speaking only when necessary and with the intention of nurturing harmony. Sharing intimate family matters with others is often done with the best of intentions, but it is essential to understand that sometimes silence is the wisest choice. By speaking less, you allow room for deeper understanding and a more peaceful resolution to arise naturally. Sometimes, we forget that privacy within relationships isn't about hiding or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about giving each other the space to grow, evolve, and work through challenges without feeling the pressure of outside opinions. The privacy you maintain in your relationships can serve as a strong foundation upon which trust and mutual respect are built. If you look at many of the most successful and fulfilling relationships, whether familial or romantic, they are often built on mutual respect and privacy. There is a shared understanding between the people involved that certain things remain between them, because they know that, in doing so, they protect the relationship from external harm. This is not about secrecy, but about sacredness. It's about honoring the bond and understanding that some aspects of life are too precious to be shared with just anyone. In conclusion, when it comes to family and relationships, less is often more. By keeping things private, you're not only safeguarding your connection with your loved ones, but you're also fostering an environment of trust, respect, and growth. Remember, not everything needs to be shared. Some things are better left between the people involved, quietly and respectfully, allowing love and understanding to flourish without the interference of the outside world. Protect your sacred bonds. They are more precious than anything else you could share. Spiritual practices, the quiet journey within. When you set foot on the spiritual path, the first lesson you might learn is the power of silence. It is not in loud rituals or grand gestures that true spiritual growth happens. Instead, it's in the quiet, in the moments of stillness, that your deepest wisdom can arise. Imagine walking into a peaceful temple, surrounded by nothing but the gentle hum of your breath. In this sacred space, there's no rush, no noise, just a calm presence that allows you to truly connect with the inner world. This is where true spirituality begins, quietly, within. The world today is filled with distractions, constant noise, and endless chatter. People shout their thoughts from the rooftops, sharing every moment of their lives as if to prove something to the world. But in Buddhism, the path to enlightenment is found in silence, in stillness, in the ability to retreat inwardly. Your spiritual journey is personal. It's a relationship between you and your inner self, not something to be broadcasted or shared with others. In fact, the more you speak about your spiritual practices, the more you risk losing the pure, untouched essence of what you're experiencing. When you practice meditation, for example, you might feel the urge to share your experience with others. You may want to tell them about the peace you felt or the visions you saw. But the truth is, spiritual experiences are meant to be kept sacred. They are for you and you alone. Each moment of stillness is an opportunity to deepen your connection with yourself and the universe. The more you speak about it, the more you dilute its purity. Think of a seed. When you plant it in the ground, you don't shout about it to the world. You don't pull it out of the soil every day to show it to others. You simply leave it, nurturing it quietly with time and patience. Spiritual practices are the same. When you focus on nurturing your inner life with silence and solitude, you allow your spirit to grow in ways that words could never capture. There's a certain power in the act of quietly going within. You don't need to share every detail with others. In fact, the less you talk about it, the more meaningful it becomes. Just as a tree grows in the forest without anyone watching, so too does your spiritual growth. You don't need validation from others, nor should you seek it. Your path is your own, and it is in your own silence that it flourishes. In Buddhism, this idea is called noble silence, a silence that goes beyond mere quietude. It is a silence that encompasses not only the absence of words, but also the absence of unnecessary thoughts and distractions. It's the ability to be present with yourself, without the constant chatter of the mind. When you practice noble silence, you allow your mind to rest, to experience the true essence of being. True spiritual power comes not from talking about your practices, but from the quiet commitment to them. The more you speak of your spiritual journey, the more you risk losing touch with the very thing you are trying to experience. Instead, focus on the practice itself, the meditation, the breathing, the stillness. Let these be your true guides, not the words you speak to others. The act of keeping your spiritual practices private is not about hiding or secrecy. It is about protecting your sacred space. When you share your spiritual practices too freely, you open them up to the judgment and influence of others. You begin to lose the purity of your own experience and start adapting to what others think spirituality should be. This is a danger many fall into. The world offers a million opinions, but it's only when you remain quiet and focused on your inner experience that you can truly hear the voice of your own soul. Have you ever noticed how the most peaceful people rarely talk about their spirituality? They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They are quietly absorbed in their own journey. They let their actions speak for themselves. This is the kind of spiritual life that is grounded in truth, not in approval from the outside world. When you practice meditation, it's common to feel a sense of inner peace that you want to share with others. But this peace is not for showing off. It's not a medal you wear to show others how advanced you are on your journey. Peace comes when you allow it to grow in the quietest spaces of your heart. If you make the mistake of sharing it too freely, it can lose its power. Spirituality is something personal, something intimate, and it's in keeping it private that you allow it to grow and deepen. Even when it comes to prayer, keeping it to yourself can enhance its meaning. In many traditions, prayer is a deeply personal act. It's a conversation between you and the divine, not a performance for others. When you keep your prayers to yourself, you honor that sacred connection. The more you speak about them, the more you risk turning them into something for show, something that is no longer about your own personal connection. When you learn to embrace the quiet, to sit in silence and stillness, you begin to understand that spirituality is not about how much you say, but about how much you are. It's about being present in the moment, not about making noise. The less you talk about your practices, the more you can experience them for what they truly are. Spirituality is not a performance, it's a journey. And it's a journey that is best taken in silence, in solitude, with no need for recognition from others. So, remember, your spiritual practices are yours and yours alone. Keep them private, protect them, and let them grow in the quiet spaces of your life. In doing so, you allow your spirit to deepen and your connection to the divine to strengthen. The more you keep to yourself, the more you find peace within. This is the true essence of spirituality, the quiet journey within. Financial details, wisdom and wealth secrecy. In the quiet corners of your life, there is a truth often overlooked. Wealth is not just measured by what you have, but by how little of it you let others know. Imagine a simple life, where your financial status, your earnings, and your possessions are not on display for the world to see. Would you feel more at ease, more focused, or perhaps more powerful? This is where the wisdom of privacy comes into play. When it comes to money, keeping things to yourself isn't about hiding wealth or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about protecting your peace and ensuring that the focus remains on your journey, not your riches. We often get caught in the race of showing off what we have. A new car, the latest gadgets, or even a large paycheck. These things can make us feel validated in the eyes of others. But what happens when we let our financial situation become public? First, it invites judgment. Some may admire you, others may envy you. Either way, your peace is compromised. The constant attention towards your financial status can bring distractions, unwanted opinions, and expectations that don't serve your true purpose. In Buddhism, there is a deep understanding that true wealth is not about possessions or numbers in a bank account. It's about inner peace, contentment, and the ability to live without attachment to material things. The more you make your wealth public, the more you invite attachments, both from others and within yourself. When you begin to attach your sense of self to what you own or how much you earn, you lose sight of who you truly are. Your worth is no longer measured by your character or your actions, but by the things you own. Keeping your financial details private allows you to focus on what truly matters, your inner growth, your relationships, and your purpose in life. You begin to live without the weight of expectations that come with others' perceptions of your wealth. Imagine living in a world where you don't have to explain your income, your savings, or your spending habits. You can live freely, making decisions based on your values, not based on how others might judge your choices. When your wealth is not on display, you have the space to grow without being distracted by the opinions of others. In the quiet, you find your true purpose, not influenced by the desire to impress or keep up with societal standards. And isn't that the path to peace? The less you focus on what others think about your financial status, the more you are free to live authentically. The temptation to share your financial success can be strong. After all, who wouldn't want to be admired for their achievements? But there is a quiet power in maintaining secrecy. When you keep your financial life to yourself, you can truly evaluate your worth without the interference of external voices. You create a space where your worth is not tied to money, but to who you are as a person. This doesn't mean you should hide your success from the people who truly care about you, those who have been with you through thick and thin. But it does mean that you can avoid the unnecessary drama, envy, or unhealthy expectations that often come with broadcasting your financial situation. Keeping your financial life private helps you create boundaries that protect your peace. In many spiritual practices, the idea of detachment from material things is central to finding true peace. Buddhism teaches that our attachment to possessions causes suffering. When we chase after wealth with the belief that it will bring us happiness, we end up trapped in a cycle of craving. The more we accumulate, the more we feel we need. But if we step back and observe this pattern, we can see that our true contentment lies not in what we have, but in our ability to let go. Wealth in silence leads to wisdom. By keeping your financial matters private, you are not denying yourself the joy of success or prosperity. You are simply acknowledging that true fulfillment comes from within, and not from the external validation of others. You create space for gratitude, for a deeper understanding of what truly brings you joy, things that money cannot buy. Consider the people around you, those who flaunt their wealth, those who boast about their achievements, and those who constantly seek validation for their success. Do they seem more at peace? Or do they seem caught in the cycle of comparison and competition? The more we focus on showing off our wealth, the less we focus on cultivating inner peace. The more we talk about what we have, the less we enjoy what we've worked for. When we keep our financial details private, we free ourselves from the constant pull of external expectations. We learn to value the things that truly matter: our health, our relationships, our sense of purpose. Money is just a tool. It's not the measure of your worth. The true measure lies in how you live, how you treat others, and how you show up in the world. True wisdom in wealth is not about how much you accumulate, but how little you need to live a fulfilling life. It's about understanding that happiness does not come from things, but from your ability to be content with what you have and to live in alignment with your values. Keeping your financial matters private is a way of honoring that wisdom. As you move through your daily life, consider how much of your financial world you make public. Do you share every purchase, every paycheck, every investment? Or do you keep it quiet, protecting your peace and focusing on what truly matters? When you choose to live quietly, without the need to impress others with your wealth, you create a life that is truly yours, a life where your worth is defined not by what you own, but by who you are. Remember, the key to wealth isn't about accumulating more. It's about being content with less and learning to live in a way that reflects your inner peace. Keep your financial matters close to your chest and watch how much more freedom and joy you can experience. With this practice, you free yourself from the noise of the world and live a life that is truly your own. Deepest fears and weaknesses, the power of inner fortitude. Imagine standing on the edge of a great abyss. Below, you see the dark, swirling fears that have haunted you for years. Insecurities, doubts, weaknesses. They look terrifying, don't they? But what if I told you that the only way to face them is not by speaking about them, not by sharing them with the world, but by quietly acknowledging them within yourself? The truth is, your deepest fears don't need to be exposed to the world for them to lose their power over you. In Buddhism, there's a saying, the greatest obstacle to peace is the disturbance of the mind. Our fears disturb our minds like storms, shaking the surface of a still pond. They cloud our judgment, fill us with anxiety, and make us feel weak. But what if, instead of shouting about them, you allowed yourself to sit in the stillness of your own mind and simply observe them? When we talk about our weaknesses and fears too much, we give them life. We breathe energy into them, but in silence, in stillness, they lose their grip on us. Have you ever noticed how, when you share your fears, they often seem to grow larger? It's almost as though the more you speak them into existence, the more power they gain. And yet, when you keep them private, they don't have the same hold on you. Silence doesn't mean ignoring your fears. It means observing them, understanding them, and allowing them to pass through you without letting them define you. In moments of fear, the natural instinct is often to reach out for help, to share what's inside. But how many times has sharing your worries left you feeling even more overwhelmed? Perhaps those who listen can offer sympathy, but sympathy does not remove the root of fear. In fact, it can reinforce it, allowing you to cling to it even more tightly. Your fears are yours to face, and they will only lose their power over you when you take responsibility for them in silence. Think of them like clouds floating across the sky. At first, they may look dark and menacing, but with time, they will pass. By not speaking about them, you allow them the space to pass naturally without clinging to them. The Buddhists have long practiced meditation to confront their fears. It is in the quiet space of meditation that they can truly observe their thoughts and emotions without reacting to them. And this practice of not reacting is where true strength lies. When you don't share your fears with others, you don't invite their opinions or judgments into the mix. You are free to deal with them on your terms, at your pace, in the quiet of your own heart. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? The more you hide your weaknesses, the more you confront them. By keeping them private, you give yourself the space to transform them into something far more powerful. You may not always be able to eliminate fear, but you can learn not to let it control you. When you allow your fears to remain your own, you take away the need for validation. You can then move forward in silence, and the weight of your fears will slowly begin to lift. But there's more. Not sharing your fears also means that you're not allowing others to project their own fear onto you. Often, when we speak our fears aloud, others will react with their own doubts and anxieties. Their fears become yours, and the cycle continues. Keeping your fears private prevents this transfer of energy. There's a deep wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. In the silence, we find strength. It is in the quiet moments that we truly discover what we're made of. We learn to face the darkness within ourselves, not by exposing it to the world, but by shining our own light upon it. The more you choose silence in the face of fear, the more you will learn to trust in your own strength. What do we gain by sharing our fears? Often, it's nothing more than a fleeting sense of relief. We expect others to make us feel better, but in the end, only we can truly heal ourselves. The world may offer you comfort, but it cannot offer you peace. Peace comes from within, and it is found in the quiet strength that comes from keeping your fears private. Your weakness is not something to be ashamed of. It's simply a part of being human. But by keeping it to yourself, you allow yourself the time to understand it, to transform it, and to grow beyond it. You don't need anyone's approval or sympathy. The only thing you need is the courage to face your fears in solitude. When you take the time to address your fears in silence, you allow yourself to rebuild your strength from the inside out. You stop depending on the outside world to heal you and start relying on your own inner wisdom. Over time, this inner strength grows, and your fears become less and less powerful. By holding your fears within, you are not denying them. You are simply choosing to transform them. Every fear you face in silence adds to your resilience, your understanding, and your ability to overcome. And in the end, you will realize that the greatest strength lies in your ability to stand firm with your fears without needing to speak about them to the world. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by your weaknesses or fears, remember this: they are yours to face. You don't need to share them with others. In fact, by keeping them to yourself, you will find a deeper sense of peace, a quiet strength that will allow you to rise above whatever comes your way. Let your fears remain private, and let your inner fortitude shine through. Knowledge and wisdom, when to share and when to hold back. There is a saying in Zen: the more you know, the less you need to show. It speaks of the delicate balance between sharing wisdom and holding it back. You see, knowledge is a powerful thing. It can illuminate paths, solve problems, and provide clarity. But not all knowledge is meant to be shared. Sometimes, the most profound wisdom is the one that remains silent within you. The true challenge is knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. Think about your own life. How many times have you learned something new, whether it was a simple lesson or a complex truth, and immediately felt the urge to share it? There is a desire in all of us to pass on knowledge, to feel that what we have learned might help others. But what if this eagerness to share isn't always the best choice? What if, in some cases, silence can serve us better than words? Zen teaches us that there is a time for everything. When you are in the presence of others, especially those who might not be ready or willing to receive your knowledge, it's important to exercise discernment. Not everyone around you is prepared to understand the wisdom you've gained. Sometimes, sharing without consideration can cause confusion, resistance, or even unnecessary conflict. It's like planting a seed. If you plant it in the wrong soil, it will not grow. In the same way, knowledge shared prematurely or unwisely may not take root in the minds of others. It may be rejected, misunderstood, or ignored. When you withhold knowledge, you are giving it the time and space to grow in its proper season. In this silence, you are showing respect for the wisdom you hold. When you do choose to share your knowledge, make sure it is done with compassion and clarity. The Zen masters always emphasize the importance of timing. A well-timed word can change someone's life, but a poorly timed word can cause more harm than good. It's not just about what you say, but when you say it. Timing is everything. This is the essence of mindful speech. Speaking out of turn, or for the sake of appearing knowledgeable, is not only unnecessary but can lead to pride and arrogance. These are the traps that the Zen teachings warn us about. When you speak with mindfulness, you are not seeking approval or validation. You are simply offering what is needed in the moment, without expectation. Moreover, there is a quiet power in the words that are left unspoken. Silence does not mean ignorance. It means there is peace in knowing that not everything needs to be said. When you choose to hold back, you allow others the space to think, reflect, and come to their own conclusions. By not overwhelming others with your knowledge, you are teaching them the value of their own insight. In Buddhism, there is a practice of right speech, which teaches us to speak truthfully, kindly, and only when necessary. This practice asks us to evaluate the intention behind our words. Are we speaking to teach, to help, to share? Or are we speaking to impress, to prove, or to fill the empty space? The answer to these questions helps guide us in making the choice to speak or remain silent. Let us consider the nature of true wisdom. Wisdom is not about knowing everything. It is about understanding when and how to use the knowledge you possess. It is not about sharing for the sake of sharing, but discerning when your words will bring light and when they might cause confusion. The more you understand this, the more you realize that sometimes your silence is the greatest contribution you can make. Think about the times in your life when you've had a conversation and you felt the urge to speak, but chose not to. How did that make you feel? Perhaps you felt more at peace, more grounded, as if your mind had cleared. This is the power of restraint. It doesn't mean you are withholding your knowledge out of fear or insecurity. It simply means you are trusting that the right time will come. And when it does, your words will be more impactful, more meaningful. On the other hand, think about those moments when you spoke too much, when you revealed too much, or when you shared without understanding the situation. Did it help you? Did it help the other person? Or did it leave you feeling drained or misunderstood? The more we practice silence and discernment, the more we understand the impact of our words. Zen teaches us that our words are like the ripples in a pond. They may start small, but their effects can spread far and wide. Even the quietest words can have profound effects. And yet, many of us forget this power. We speak without thinking, without reflecting, and without considering the consequences. But when we cultivate the art of mindful speech, we realize that we have the power to create peace with our words, where we can choose silence and allow the peace to grow on its own. In our daily lives, there is often a temptation to be the person who always knows the answer, who always has something to say. But true wisdom lies in knowing when to remain silent, to listen, to absorb, and to wait for the right moment. Silence does not mean lack of knowledge. It means understanding the importance of restraint. It's in this silence that we often find our truest answers. So, what does this mean for you? In every conversation, ask yourself, Do I need to speak right now? Will my words serve a purpose? Am I speaking from a place of kindness, or am I just filling the air with noise? In those moments of doubt, let silence be your guide. Trust that the wisdom you hold does not always need to be shared immediately. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is simply listen and allow others the space to share their own wisdom with you. When you practice this, you will notice that you not only feel more peaceful, but the people around you will feel it too. You will be a person who listens deeply, who speaks thoughtfully, and who knows the true value of words. And in this, you will find a deeper connection to the world, to others, and to your own wisdom. So, remember, knowledge is a precious gift, but it's not meant to be given away carelessly. Use your words with mindfulness, and when the time is right, speak with compassion and clarity. And when it's not the right time, allow silence to be your guide. In this way, you will not only protect your wisdom, but you will also help those around you grow in their own understanding. Past mistakes, letting go without spreading shadows. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe. Let the noise of the world fade. Now, think about your past. Not just the good times, but the moments you regret. The words you wish you could take back. The choices that led you down paths of sorrow. Do you feel their weight? Do they still whisper to you when the night is quiet? Mistakes are like footprints in wet sand. The more you stare at them, the more they seem permanent. But time, like the tide, washes them away. The problem is, many people don't let the tide do its work. They hold onto their mistakes, carrying them like heavy stones in their hearts. Worse, they speak of them too often, spreading their shadows wherever they go. When you constantly talk about your past mistakes, you are not healing. You are reopening old wounds. Each time you share them, you relive them. Each time you seek validation for your guilt, you give your past more power over your present. Why do this to yourself? Why let the past hold you prisoner when life is happening now? A wise person does not announce their failures to the world, not because they are ashamed, but because they understand that mistakes are teachers, not banners to wave. When you speak too much of what has gone wrong, you attach yourself to that identity. You become the person who failed, instead of the person who learned. Think about a tree in winter. It does not cry over the leaves it has lost. It does not tell the wind how it wishes things had been different. It simply waits, knowing that spring will come. Your life is the same. You must let the old leaves fall silently, without explaining to the world why they had to go. This does not mean you hide from your past. It does not mean you pretend your mistakes never happened. It means you acknowledge them, learn from them, and then let them rest. If you keep digging up the past, how will new growth ever take root? Some believe that speaking about their past mistakes will earn them sympathy or understanding. But ask yourself, does talking about it change what has already happened? Or does it just make the burden heavier? True wisdom is in silence. True strength is in moving forward without looking back. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent. The pain you once felt, the shame you once carried, even the mistakes that seem unforgettable, they all fade like ripples in a pond. But if you keep throwing stones, the water will never be still. Imagine someone carrying a bag of stones, each one representing a past regret. They tell everyone they meet about the weight of their bag, showing each stone, explaining how it got there. But what happens? The bag does not get lighter. If anything, it feels heavier with every word. Now imagine another person who, instead of talking about their stones, simply begins to drop them, one by one. Who do you think will walk more freely? You do not need to explain your past to anyone. You do not need to justify the mistakes you have made. The only thing that matters is what you do now. Speak less of the past and live more in the present. Because the moment you let go of the past, it lets go of you. There will always be people who want to remind you of your mistakes. People who will bring up your failures, hoping to see you stumble. Do not engage. Do not defend yourself. Let them speak, and walk away in silence. For a person who has truly moved on has nothing to prove. The past is a story already written. You can waste your time reading the same page over and over, or you can turn to a blank one and start again. Which will you choose? Do not let the world trap you in yesterday. Do not let your mistakes define who you are today. A moment of weakness does not mean a lifetime of suffering. Forgive yourself, learn the lesson, and move forward in silence. A Zen master once said, The river does not look back at where it has been. It simply flows. Be like the river. Let your mistakes be carried away, not by words, but by the quiet strength of your actions. Personal dreams. The risk of speaking before acting. Sit down, close your eyes for a moment, and imagine a small flame flickering in the darkness. This flame is delicate, young, full of potential. It has the power to grow into something strong, something that can light up the world. But if the wind blows too hard, what happens? It vanishes. Your dreams are just like this flame. They are small, fragile in the beginning, waiting to grow. But the moment you expose them to the world too soon, they become vulnerable. Every word you speak about them is like a gust of wind. Some winds are gentle, but others are strong enough to put out the fire before it even has a chance to burn bright. Have you ever shared a dream with someone, only to feel doubt creep in soon after? Maybe they questioned you. Maybe they laughed. Maybe they said nothing at all, and that silence was louder than words. You walked away feeling unsure, second-guessing yourself. The excitement you once had slowly faded. That is the power of speaking before acting. Words carry energy. When you talk about your dreams too soon, that energy is released. Instead of using it to build something real, you let it float away in conversations. You feel satisfied just by speaking about it. You trick your mind into believing that talking is the same as doing. But the truth is, words alone do not create. Actions do. Think of a seed. When you plant it, you do not dig it up every day to show people. You let it grow in silence, hidden beneath the soil. Only when it is strong enough does it push through the ground and reach the world. But if you expose it too early, it will not survive. Your dreams need this same protection. They need time in the dark, away from opinions, away from distractions. The moment you speak about them, you invite interference. People will question you. Some will doubt you. Others may try to take your ideas and make them their own. Even the most well-meaning people can plant seeds of hesitation in your mind. Buddhism teaches us to move in silence, to act without the need for recognition. A master does not announce his plans. He simply walks the path. The greatest achievements in life often come from quiet determination, not loud declarations. When you are too eager to share, you invite unnecessary obstacles. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to say, "I will do this," but how hard it is to actually do it? The moment you say it out loud, your mind feels a sense of completion. You feel as if you've already taken a step, even when you haven't. That feeling can be dangerous. It steals your motivation. It makes you comfortable with words instead of actions. True power comes from moving in silence. Work quietly. Plan privately. Let your results speak for themselves. The world does not need to know what you are doing until it is already done. When you keep your dreams within, you control their energy. You protect them from the winds of doubt, the storms of criticism. You give them the space to grow strong. There will always be people who do not understand your vision. Some will discourage you, not because they want to harm you, but because they cannot see what you see. Others will project their own fears onto you. They will tell you it's impossible because they never did it themselves. If you listen, you risk carrying their fears as your own. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. It is the foundation on which great things are built. The tallest trees grow in silence before they ever break through the earth. The strongest minds train in solitude before they show their strength to the world. The most powerful transformations happen when no one is watching. This is the wisdom of the ages. Do not speak, act. Do not announce, build. Let your success be the only proof you need. And when the time comes, when your dreams have taken form, when they are strong enough to stand on their own, the world will see. And they will know, not because you told them, but because you showed them, the true essence of privacy, final wisdom, and reflection. As we reach the final step of this journey, take a moment to pause. Think about the last few weeks, the lessons you've absorbed, the changes you've already begun to make. If you've truly listened, you'll see how the practice of keeping things private can unlock a deeper, more peaceful version of yourself. But how often do we really sit back and reflect on our actions and their impact on us? So many of us rush through life, constantly sharing, constantly speaking, thinking that the more we put out into the world, the more we will be understood. But that's not always the case, is it? Imagine living a life where not every detail, every plan, every little thought needs to be expressed. Think about the freedom that would come from holding your energy in your heart, from letting your actions do the talking instead of endless words. You see, privacy isn't just about hiding things. It's about creating a space within yourself where you are truly at peace. Silence, true silence, is where clarity is born. In the quiet, you hear your own soul speaking, untainted by the noise of others. Now, reflect on the times when you've shared too much. How did that feel? Did it bring you closer to your true self, or did it create confusion, distraction, or unnecessary burdens? The truth is that sharing too much often leads to losing track of what matters most. You begin to seek validation from others, and in doing so, you lose the power that comes with living a private life. By keeping things to yourself, you're not shutting out the world. You're simply choosing to protect your inner peace. In Buddhism, silence is considered a path to wisdom. The Buddha himself often spoke of the importance of stillness. It is through silence that you come to understand the true nature of the world and your place in it. Silence allows you to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. By holding certain things private, you preserve the sacred space where your spirit can grow, untainted by the distractions of external opinions. But why, you might ask, is silence so powerful? Why is keeping things private considered wise? Because silence is where all true wisdom begins. When you speak less, you hear more. When you share less, you preserve the energy needed to focus on your true path. The world doesn't need to know every detail of your journey for you to walk it with purpose. And the more you hold back, the more you create room for your true self to shine. There's a subtle power in the ability to keep things to yourself. It's the power of focus, of intention, and of clarity. When you don't constantly express your plans and dreams, you give yourself the time and space to actually bring them to life. Think about how often we speak of our goals, only to see them fade away. Maybe you've done this yourself. Shared an idea, a project, a hope, with others, only to watch it lose its power because it was no longer just yours. The energy dissipates when it's shared too early. But when you keep things to yourself, when you protect them, you give them a chance to grow strong and real. Now, this doesn't mean you should isolate yourself from the world or keep everything a secret. What it means is that you should carefully choose what to share, when to share, and with whom. Just like a gardener carefully tends to a delicate seed, you must protect your thoughts, dreams, and intentions until they are ready to bloom. This is the true essence of privacy. You see, privacy is not about secrecy or avoiding others. It's about knowing when to open up and when to remain silent. It's about recognizing that not everything you think or feel needs to be shared in the moment. It's about creating a space where your inner voice is the loudest voice, and all the external noise fades away. By practicing this, you will find that the more you keep private, the more you actually have to give when you do choose to speak. In the end, the greatest gift of privacy is peace. When you keep things to yourself, you stop seeking approval or attention. You stop looking for external validation, and you begin to look inward for the answers. You start to trust yourself more. You no longer need to explain every decision, every thought, or every feeling. You learn that the most important conversations are the ones you have with yourself. So, as we close this chapter, think about the areas in your life where you've been too open, too eager to share. What can you keep to yourself? What would it feel like to take a step back and hold some of your energy within? Imagine the sense of peace that could come from simply allowing things to unfold in their own time, without the pressure of needing others to see or approve of your every move. In Buddhism, it's said that the more you speak, the less you hear. The more you share, the less you truly experience. So choose wisely. Keep the things that matter most private and protect them. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. Protect your journey. We've come to the end of this video, but the lessons don't stop here. Take what you've learned, apply it to your life, and watch how your world begins to shift. You'll find that by keeping things to yourself, you unlock a deeper sense of freedom and purpose. The power of privacy isn't about hiding. It's about preserving what's sacred within you, allowing it to grow and bloom in its own time. So, as you move forward, remember this. The more you keep private, the more you allow your true self to shine. And when you do choose to speak, you will do so with more clarity, power, and authenticity than ever before. Thank you for watching Wisdom Woven. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. We would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the power of keeping things private? How has it impacted your life? Drop your comments below, and let's continue this journey together.